The most powerful moment in your healing doesn't come with fireworks or dramatic goodbyes. It doesn't come when you finally block her number, mute her stories, or delete the pictures. It's not when you tell your friends you're done, or when you promise yourself never to go back. Those are steps, sure, but not the summit. The moment real healing begins, the kind that changes your life, is when you stop looking back. And not out of anger, not because you're trying to prove something, not even because you're tired. You stop looking back because, deep in your soul, you've found peace. That peace is quiet, almost unnoticeable at first. It's not loud, not something you post about or announce. It's waking up and realizing she wasn't the first thought in your head. It's getting through your day without checking if she's online. It's hearing your favorite song, the one that used to rip open old wounds, and simply enjoying it. It's realizing that your mind no longer builds altars to a love that never fed you. It's freedom from mental loops, from obsessing over what could have been, from romanticizing a version of the past that never really existed. And the irony? That's the exact moment she feels it. Not because you said anything, because you made a show of walking away, but because your energy, once tied to her like a lifeline, has returned to you. That invisible cord she always felt, pulling from your side, it's gone. And that silence, true, effortless silence, it speaks louder than any text or call ever could. It says, I'm no longer carrying you in my heart. You didn't slam a door. You just walked through it and never looked back. She doesn't notice your silence right away. At first, she thinks it's more of the same, the kind of silence you used before, when you were upset, hoping she'd check in. She assumes it's temporary, just a tactic, a move on the board. She expects the pattern. You pull away, she gives it time, and eventually, you come back with an explanation or a soft reach out. But this time is different. Time passes, and you don't return. There's no hidden strategy behind your quiet. It's not calculated. It's real. You're not trying to make her miss you. You're not hoping she wonders. You've simply stopped showing up in a place that no longer sees your value. And that's when it hits her. The silence isn't about her anymore. It's about you. It's not part of a chase. It's part of your healing. She starts feeling it, not just noticing it, because this silence doesn't scream. It echoes. It lingers in her thoughts when she sees your name, but realizes there's no longer a way in. It hums in the background when she checks her phone at midnight, and your name isn't there. Not even a typing bubble. Not even a view on her story. You've gone quiet, not as a punishment, but as a boundary. You're no longer sitting with your phone hoping, no longer writing unsent paragraphs in your head. She tries to test it, a subtle post, a song lyric, a story that only you would understand, but nothing happens. No reaction, no bite. Because you're not hooked anymore. You're not pretending to move on. You have. That silence that once came from heartbreak now comes from peace. You're not avoiding her. You've simply chosen yourself. And she feels it fully, deeply, quietly. She starts remembering the version of you she used to know, the man who over-explained, over-apologized, over-loved. The one who showed up every time, even when you were breaking inside. The one who sent long messages at a.m., trying to make sense of things that never really made sense. You loved with a kind of intensity that scared even you sometimes. You fought for a connection that often left you drained, hoping that if you just gave a little more, she might finally see you clearly. But that man, the one who was always reaching, always waiting, he's not here anymore. Now she sees something unfamiliar, someone unfamiliar, a man who no longer performs for love, who no longer questions his worth when he's met with silence. She sees someone solid, steady, unshaken. You're not quieter because you're bitter, you're quieter because you're centered. There's a calm in you now, one that wasn't there before. You're not reacting to her or anyone else. You've grown into someone who doesn't need to be seen to feel secure, who doesn't need to be validated to feel whole. And that change doesn't just catch her off guard, it haunts her. Because for the first time, she's looking at you and wondering if she ever really knew who you were beneath the need to be loved. She's starting to realize that maybe the best version of you didn't exist back then, not because you weren't trying, but because you were still becoming. And now that you've become him, the man who stands tall on his own, it creates a space she can't fill anymore. You're not seeking closure, not begging to be seen. You simply are. And that quiet self-assurance speaks louder than any words you ever said. She tries, in her own subtle ways, to open the door again, not with direct messages or apologies, but with quiet signals, an old inside joke posted on her story, a song she knows you used to love, a picture that feels just personal enough to catch your attention. She's fishing for your presence, hoping for a reaction, but none comes. Because you've shifted. You've stopped feeding the dynamic that used to keep you trapped. You used to respond to every breadcrumb, hoping it meant something more. You used to leave the door cracked just in case she wanted to walk back through it. But not anymore. Now, the door is closed, not slammed, not locked out of spite, just gently, intentionally closed. You've outgrown the version of yourself that needed her attention to feel enough. You've stopped chasing conversations that only led in circles. You've built something new, not just in your life, but in your heart. A new space, protected, private, peaceful. And that space isn't up for grabs anymore. She notices. She feels the shift. Because where she once had emotional access, now there's distance. She can't reach you the way she used to. She doesn't know what you're thinking, doesn't feel that pull anymore. The old you would have cracked answered one more time, opened the door for just one last talk, entertained the idea of what if, but not now. Now, even her silence doesn't draw you in. You've stopped trying to read between her lines, because those lines don't matter anymore. This time, she's the one standing outside the door, not just missing you, but realizing she no longer has the key. Not because you're punishing her, but because you've finally chosen peace over potential. And that's a boundary she can't cross. She always thought you'd wait. Even if you didn't say it, she felt it the way you lingered, the way you left the door open just a little, just in case. There was always a part of her that believed, deep down, you'd be there if she ever decided to turn around. She thought your life would stall without her, that your world would remain paused, revolving around her absence like it always had. But now, as time moves forward, she sees something she didn't expect. You're not waiting anymore. You're living. Healing didn't look like what she imagined. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't come with declarations or bitter goodbyes. It came in quiet, steady ways, like you smiling again for no reason, finding joy in your own space, building routines that have nothing to do with her, laughing not to hide pain, but because the pain is actually gone. She sees you doing things you once dreamed about, showing up for yourself, taking care of your body, your mind, your future, and none of it has anything to do with her. That's what stings the most, because the truth is, she expected you to be stuck. She assumed your growth would be tied to her approval, that your next chapter would need her to co-sign it. But now she's watching from the outside, and what she sees is a life that's thriving without her in it. And that realization is louder than any angry word, any argument, any closure conversation could ever be. You didn't move on to make her jealous. You didn't glow up to get her back. You healed because you had no other choice, and through that healing, you became someone you respect. And that man, he doesn't look back. He keeps walking forward.